They say that a country's backbone is its economy, and the economy backbone is its entrepreneurs. I'm Father Rahman Khan.
And I am Ahmed Ibrahim.
And it's our esteemed honor today to have two distinguished members of Wilsonia alumni with us who has taken our city's name abroad, across the borders as successful exporters. We have with us Ayaz Raazi and we have Ahmed Raazi. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you so very much.
So, I'm going to start off by asking you, tell me something about your journey from school life to being one of the leading exporters of the city.
I'll go first. Actually, I'm far too young, just went out of the school 2 years ago. Just a joke. So, my 2 decades of journey after leaving the school has been like full of trials and tribulations, successes and failures. And I started pretty early. I started working when I was in class 11th and 12th with the blessings of our ma'am principal in heaven. She inspired us and I really started very early. I used to go, my elder brother had joined the business full time after completing his MBA. But I started pretty early. We started with a lot of international fairs, trying to inculcate with us a sense of responsibility at a very young age. And it has been a pretty tumultuous journey, not always filled with all the good things. But at the end of the day, it was always like, every problem got solved. And to be very honest, the values that our school principal and the school teachers and our parents inculcated in us went a long way in solving the problems because school life is very different from the actual real life. When you are out there to earn the money, it's a cutthroat world. Everybody is trying to get a pie of the cake. And it's a very limited cake, and a lot of eaters there. So you have to really work with the values that have been inculcated, honesty, integrity being the top ones.
Yeah. About you,
similarly, I would like to reiterate what he said. It's right that when we are in school, we are in a very sheltered microcosm sort of a place, which yes, we do have diversity. We have people of all interests, of all backgrounds, of all types, who are your colleagues, who are your competition, who are your good wishers and not so good wishers. And that's what, suddenly expands like mushroom when we go out in the real world and, suddenly we have all of these people, but you are no longer in a sheltered environment. So yes, if I were to give advice, I would say that cherish the school years and try to extrapolate what we've learned here, so that we can benefit when we are out there in the dog-eat-dog world, as my brother has said right now. It's not such a bad thing, the outside world, but it is far more unforgiving. You make a mistake in school, you are penalized for it by writing maybe 100 sentences of the same thing, or maybe standing outside the class. But at the same time, when you are in the real life, it's no longer as simple as that. You are penalized in much more severe situations. So yes, and the school makes a lasting impression, and we have to keep those values intact inside us. It's not that when we leave school, we just forget about what we've learned here and learn the new skills. No, the values, the things that we learn here are going to last us, all of us, will last a lifetime. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. You just asked about the long-lasting impact. So my next question is, was there any specific subject, project or co-curricular activity that ignited a lifelong passion in your life?
Well, yes. Actually, I was very passionate about the language, English literature. The language English and its literature. I was always very fascinated by the books. Actually, we have a small little room in our house that my father used to keep thousands of books, and mostly they were English books. So our childhood was always full of nice pieces of literature. And in my school days, I don't know, I'm very sure you guys would not be knowing him because it's a very long while ago, but we had a very stellar, the best ever teacher, and he was called Sir Mathur. He taught me English literature, and the way he taught, really it was like something that I don't think any other teacher would do justice to that language or to that whatever he was explaining or whatever.
So, Ahmed sir, could you narrate about a personal experience from your school life that kind of shaped or molded your perception or definition about success and failure?
Actually, you should ask that question to me because he was almost kind of perfect always in school. So failures and like learning from them has to be me. But then okay, I'm sure he'll come up.
Yes. Success and failure is very relative, and it is really about how you gauge. A failure at this stage can actually pave way for success at a later stage. What you learn, what you take away from an incident is what is important. From a school perspective, I always remember once we had gone for the debating competition outside school, and I was participating in it, representing our school, and I was fairly good at debating at that time. And I had practiced and had made a stellar presentation each time I had. And when we were on the stage, there was something happened. Totally blanked out. Didn't remember anything, or remembered something which was literally very embarrassing. And the whole school, the other school teams, they were all very expectantly looking at me, and I was like completely switched off, and it made me realize that there are so many things which are totally not in your control. I would like to say that don't take to heart any failure, and consider so many things which are totally out of our control actually end up making us, and it helped me become more humble about myself. 16-year-old, 15-year-old boy who was very fluent in whatever he was doing. It made me grounded. It made me realize that however much I might do anything, things can go wrong at any time, and that is something I've always remembered. That doesn't define me. I did participate in many other debating competitions. This was in class 10, that's in 11th and 12th. I did participate, and thankfully I did win a lot of awards in the school. But at that time, it was absolutely a flop show, and that helped me realize that we should take failures and success as out of the same coin, one side hiding the other one.
So Ayaz, were there any other dreams or aspirations you carried on from your school life that evolved during the different phases of life?
Yes, definitely. I'm at a point in my life when I've seen lots of eras, in the sense I've had adolescence, teenage, youth. I still like to consider myself to be at the fag end of my youth, but then, okay, fine, my kids are growing up, so I think I'm touching the advent of old age. But then, yes, dreams are very subjective to how you feel about yourself, how you measure yourself in your life at a given point of time. Your dream probably would be to make a lot of money, right? Am I right? My dream right now is to make a lot of money and to have a good impact on the society. You understand? So that's the change we are talking about.
So, Ahmed sir, what about you? Were there any interests that you deeply harbored during your school life that you really wanted to pursue?
Except from bullying me.
Yeah, that was all. The interests that I harbored have changed over time. There was a time when I was incredibly involved in music when I was school and maybe college also. They loved music a lot. And then as you grow up or as you progress through life, like a river which has got its own meandering ways, it takes you along. It's just that you have to still try to keep a firm grip on what your inside really demands in terms of satisfaction. But yes, music has been one interest that I have continued to enjoy, and it has helped me get through tougher times for sure.
So, I want to know who's your favorite artist, music artist?
Artist, Billy Joel for sure. Absolutely loving the whole discography is something that absolutely whoever listens, please explore it. He's fantastic, fabulous, really.
So, my next question is to you, Ayaz sir. How has the 26% US tariff on Indian exports impacted your pricing strategy, and how do you still maintain profit margin?
See, in the short term, for example, there's a 10% import duty on Indian articles in the US and a 26% tariff. So in the short term, for 90 days, the tariff has been paused, and as I'm pretty sure you must be aware of. So the tariff is not applicable at the moment. Only the 10% import duty is applicable for Indian stuff, particularly the RCD export articles. And it's too early to have one sure shot or successful mantra of dealing with such an unprecedented and unexpected thing. The whole world was shaken up when all of this happened, and it's a very dynamic and fluid situation at the moment. For example, if you're working with a very high-end customer who buys very high-end articles from you and gives you good profit, but demands exceptional service and exceptional quality, right? For example, you buy a Hugo Boss t-shirt versus you buy a t-shirt which is not a good brand or whatever. So in a Hugo Boss t-shirt, you wouldn't tolerate a thread coming out because you're paying through the nose brand. Similarly, in the lower price segment, even if a button is a little loose or whatever, you wouldn't complain so much because you're not really looking for exceptional service or quality. Similarly, in the export trade, we have high-end customers, we have lower-end medium customers. So for the high-end customers, we are not really facing too much of a problem because they have the margins and the flexibility. Their customers can pay a little bit more, because their customers are very affluent people who have very high incomes. So if they are paying $100 for a lamp, they can easily pay $110 as well. But for the lower end strata of the industry, that's where a lot of Moradabad business goes, medium to low end. So that is when you face exceptional challenges, because that segment has got hardly any margins, either on our side, and we know either on our customer's side. If there's an importer in the US who is selling to a retailer who is a discount retailer, so he doesn't have much margins. And I know it as a fact because I price ticket the goods. Each article has got a dollar price which I attach. And sometimes I even wonder that how come is this article being sold at such a low markup? So that explains to me that it's a global problem. It's not only a problem for me, it's a problem for my customer. For the end consumer, the housewife who wants to pay $10 for, let's say, a candle holder or a vase or a bowl, she is very resistant to paying $11 or $12 for it because she wants to only pay $10 because she has a limited amount of money, a limited amount of budget that she needs to spend on that particular article. So the strategy that we are developing, in the process of developing, is having very clear-cut and transparency between us and our customers. See, this is the markup we need. This is the minimum that we need to sustain our factory expenses and for our wife's shopping. And this much Okay, we can cooperate. In the short term, it is affecting us actually adversely because all the American customers, they are encashing on the opportunity of having the right to ask their vendor, which is, let's say, me, for a discount. They say we cannot bear the 10%. So let's share it 5-5. Now their margins is, let's say, 40%. So even if they bear 5%, they're still left with 35% profit. While, for example, if I'm working on 10% margins, I still have to bear 5%. It's not proportionate. It's actually you divide the impact of the price due to the tariff in two parts, and the parts are being shared equally by the American company, by the Indian company. So the Indian company in the short term is on a disadvantage.
Okay, so Ahmed sir, I'm going to ask you, is the current situation, if we take into consideration, how are you both and other firms in Moradabad leveraging Moradabad's reputation as the handicraft hub it is when it comes to differentiating your products from, let's say, other countries in the subcontinent, on the Southeast Asia, who are in the same business and are having lower tariffs from US?
Yes, for example, several countries do have, like Thailand or Vietnam, Bangladesh for that matter as well. They do have lesser tariffs. As my brother just now said, that since it's a very developing situation, or it's a very dynamic situation, we really don't know after half a year or maybe a few months even, what will be once the dust settles down. Will this pause be a long-term pause, or is it just like a 90-day thing? Will the Chinese tariffs be rationalized from what they are, over 200%, to something more sensible? I won't say sensible, but like more reasonable. So for right now, we have to actually take day as it comes, and we cannot really be sure that how long a term it is that we have to deal with the tariffs issue. But for now, India and particularly in Moradabad, we have been a little fortunate that, the commodity that we export, which is mostly metal handicrafts and interior decor items, the chief competition was from China in terms of furniture and lighting. They were the biggest competition and a much bigger player in the field. And since they have been handed over the shorter end of the stick here in this case, and they are at a greater disadvantage. So for the shorter term, yes, we are not being so threatened by Bangladesh or Thailand. But at the same time, if we look at what is the eventual use of the product, these are gift items. These are interior decor items. For example, we have a beautiful glass sculpture here in form of a horse. This has been placed here to accentuate the feel, the decor of the room. Now, if this suddenly becomes from 1,000 rupees to 6,000 rupees, you're not going to buy it. Perhaps you'll have a wooden horse here, or maybe even some other material horse here. So we have to be more sensible about it, that, yes, my item, my commodity is right now not such a big threat, but for example, Thailand exports a lot of bamboo, and Philippines exports a lot of kapis and mother of pearl. So my items are at risk and a threat of being replaced by these countries which have lesser tariffs. So I have to be aware of that, and a certain strategy or a certain formulation in the mind can only be done once we know with greater clarity that how the picture will be once the dust settles.
So, as you know, you have achieved so much in life. So I want to ask, what is your biggest success? What do you consider your biggest success in life?
Okay. In terms of business, in terms of personal life,
As a whole.
Let's segregate both of these things because my answers would be a little different for both. See, in terms of business, earning the trust of your customer. Sometimes if your customer comes to me and he's in a hurry and he puts a selection from your booth, let's say at a trade fair, he selects 20 things and does not even ask the prices of 15. And he says, I trust you, just send me all the details on the email. So that is trust. Personal level, having a good shut-eye at night. I do not want to pursue a certain thing to an extent that it starts to affect the other aspects of my life. For example, if I want to spend some time with my wife and kids and my family, I want to be able to do that. I measure success very differently. I do not measure success in terms of only mathematical numerals on a piece of paper. I also measure success in terms of how happy or how contented or how guilt-free am I when I lie down on the bed.
Okay, sir. Time for the last question. If we could go down the memory lane, sir, I ask, sir, what advice would you give to your future self, the younger self that was chasing his dreams, exploring the world? What would you say to him?
Yeah, it's a very important question. And when I think about what I used to have in my brain back then versus what I have right now, I admit I made a lot of mistakes in my professional career. But I always had the advantage of having a doting father and a very loving brother to always take care of all the mess I created. But a lot of our good decisions are taken away from us if we become a little bit too concerned about not pursuing what we think we should, rather than doing what we think is expected out of us, or walking on a path which has always been traveled. Like, there are two roads every time. You have to take a path less traveled by, but then you should back it up with a confidence. You should back it up with a certain type of self-belief. So I would like to advise all the younger people listening to this and to my younger self back in school that do not be bogged down by criticism. You're gonna fall. Even the biggest athletes fall. And when you are at such a tender age, you are bound to fall. What's important is how quickly you get up. Right? We all get up eventually, but how quickly we get up. So I think if we have that confidence, if we have that self-belief, then you really can try to do wonders with what you do.
Ahmed, sir.
Yes, my brother has become pretty philosophical about the whole thing. If being at today's age, when I know this is what I'm doing, that is foreign trade and exports, there are certain things which I would have added to my skill set, which would help more. For people who are wanting to go into exports, I would say one for sure, learning a foreign language, or at least having a very basic level understanding of foreign cultures and languages is going to go a long way in how you perform in exports, or how you end up doing, how well you end up doing in export trade. To my younger self, I would have said that learn how to play guitar better. I barely know anything, and whatever I knew then, I have totally messed up by now. So yes, that is something again I would have said to my younger self, that continue with it and get better at it. And other than that, I would say that believe in yourself, and if अगर आपकी नियत सही होती है, like if your intentions, if your end goal is right, eventually the whole thing comes and does it right for you eventually. So yeah, believe in yourself, learn music, learn language.
To sum up the crux that I gathered from Ayazz's and Ahmed's answer, I'm reminded of a couplet by the great poet Iqbal, where once he said, "Shaheen hai tu, parwaaz kaam tera, tere saamne aasmaan aur bhi hai." On that note, thank you so much, Ayaz sir. Thank you so much, Ahmed sir, for joining in. And as they say, Ahmed Wilsonia, let your light shine. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.